The night sky above Colorado was clear and full of stars. Inside the NASA Deep Space Monitoring Facility, Ethan Miller rubbed his tired eyes and reached for his fourth cup of coffee. The midnight shift was always the longest, but someone had to watch the stars. Just 2 more hours, he mumbled to himself, adjusting his headphones. Then he heard it, a pattern. Not random space noise, but something with rhythm. Ethan sat up straight, suddenly wide awake. He checked the signal again, making sure it wasn't equipment failure or interference. "Hey, Susan, can you come look at this?" he called to his supervisor. Susan Baker walked over, her face showing mild annoyance at being interrupted from her paperwork. "What is it, Ethan? Another satellite echo?" "No, this is different. Listen." He played back the recording. The sound came in clear pulses, too regular to be natural. Susan's eyes widened. "Run it through the pattern recognition software." 3 weeks later, the facility buzzed with activity. Scientists from around the world had gathered as more recordings came in. The signal was undeniably artificial and coming from a star system 40 light-years away. "We've done it," said Dr. Peter Walsh, the facility director. "We've made first contact." Dr. Samantha Wright stood at the back of the room, watching the excitement with careful eyes. As the country's leading xenobiologist, she had been called in to help prepare for whatever came next. At 45, with brown hair streaked with gray and sharp blue eyes, she had spent her life studying theoretical alien biology. Now theory was becoming reality. "Have we decoded any of it yet?" she asked. Peter nodded. "Our computers have been working nonstop. We think we're close." 2 days later, the team gathered in the main conference room. The air felt heavy with anticipation as Peter stood before them. "We've decoded the message," he announced. "And, well, you should hear it for yourselves." He played the translation through the speakers. A smooth, almost musical voice filled the room. "Greetings, inhabitants of the heavy world you call Earth. We are the Juraxians, an advanced civilization that has observed your slow progress with great interest. We find it remarkable that beings evolved on such a burdensome planet could develop even simple technologies. Your gravity chains you, yet you persist. How quaint. We have decided to grace your world with our presence. Prepare for our arrival in 6 of your months. We look forward to meeting such curious gravity-bound creatures and sharing our superior knowledge." Silence filled the room. Samantha was the first to speak. "They're mocking us." Alan Garcia, the facility's chief astrophysicist, nodded. "Not just mocking, they sound like they pity us." "The nerve," muttered Captain Olivia Johnson, the military liaison assigned to the project. Her hand rested on her sidearm, a habit from 15 years in the Army. "Should we consider this a threat?" "Not necessarily," said George Winters, who had arrived from the State Department that morning. "But they're clearly approaching this from a position of assumed superiority." Samantha moved to the front of the room. "We need to learn everything we can about them before they arrive. That comment about the heavy world is interesting. It suggests they evolved on a planet with much lower gravity than Earth." In the months that followed, governments around the world scrambled to prepare. The United Nations formed a special Committee for Alien Contact, with Samantha appointed as the scientific head. She assembled a team of the brightest minds from various fields. "Based on their message and the data we've gathered, we believe the Zoraxians come from a planet with approximately 1/3 of Earth's gravity," Samantha explained during a briefing with world leaders. "This could be significant." "How so?" asked the president. "If they evolved in low gravity, their bodies may not be adapted for Earth's conditions. They might be taller, with less muscle mass and weaker bones. Earth might be physically challenging for them." "Could this give us an advantage?" Captain Johnson asked, ever the strategist. "Possibly," Samantha replied. "But let's not be hasty. We should prepare accommodations that account for their needs. If they struggle physically, it might make them defensive or hostile." The world came together in unprecedented cooperation. A landing facility was built in New Zealand, chosen for its natural beauty and isolation. Special quarters were constructed with adjustable gravity environments, using technology developed for astronaut training. As the date of arrival approached, public reaction ranged widely. Some people welcomed the aliens with open arms, organizing celebrations and welcoming parties. Others stocked up on supplies and weapons, fearing invasion. Religious groups debated the theological implications, while conspiracy theorists claimed the whole thing was a government hoax. "I've never seen people so united and divided at the same time," George commented, as he and Samantha watched news coverage in the facility's break room. "Fear and hope are powerful forces," she replied. "I just wish we knew more about their intentions." "You think they're hostile?" Samantha considered the question carefully. "Not necessarily hostile, but definitely arrogant. That first message showed little respect for our species. They see us as primitives." Many human explorers had the same attitude when encountering less technologically advanced cultures, George pointed out. And those encounters rarely ended well for the less advanced group, Samantha said quietly. On the day before the scheduled arrival, Samantha couldn't sleep. She stood at the window of her temporary housing looking up at the stars. Somewhere up there, the Zoraxian ships were approaching. Her phone rang. It was Alan. "Sam, we've detected them. 3 large vessels just entered our solar system. They'll be in Earth orbit by morning." Samantha took a deep breath. "How are they moving?" "Faster than anything we've ever built, that's for sure. They'll be here right on schedule. I'll be at the command center in 20 minutes. As she drove through the night, Samantha's mind raced with questions. Would the aliens be peaceful despite their condescending message? How would they react to Earth's gravity? What did they really want from humanity? By sunrise, the world watched as 3 massive ships took position in Earth's orbit. They were beautiful in a strange way, shaped like elongated diamonds with a blue-green shimmer that seemed almost alive. A new transmission came through. "We have arrived. Prepare to receive our delegation. We look forward to lifting your species from its gravity-bound existence." Samantha exchanged looks with her team. Captain Johnson's hand again rested on her sidearm. Alan studied the ship's readings with fascination. George straightened his tie, ready to represent humanity. "Well," Samantha said, "let's go meet our visitors. And remember, they may not know as much about us as they think they do." Outside, the sky was bright with promise and possibility. Earth's first alien visitors were about to land, bringing with them unknown intentions. But perhaps, Samantha thought, Earth itself might prove to be humanity's greatest ally. The landing site in New Zealand buzzed with activity. Hundreds of officials, scientists, and military personnel gathered around the large circular platform, built specially for the alien arrival. News cameras pointed at the sky, broadcasting to billions of people watching around the world. Samantha Wright stood with her team at the front of the welcome committee. She checked her tablet one last time, reviewing the information they had gathered about the Zoraxians. "Nervous?" Alan asked, standing beside her. "Curious," she replied. "After all these years of wondering if we're alone in the universe, we finally have our answer." Captain Johnson scanned the crowd, always on alert. "I just hope they're as friendly as they claim to be." A voice came through their earpieces. "The shuttle has detached from the main ship. Estimated arrival in 5 minutes." The crowd fell silent as a bright light appeared in the morning sky. It grew larger, taking the shape of a sleek silver craft about the size of a commercial airplane. Unlike human spacecraft, it made almost no sound as it descended. "Impressive technology," Alan whispered. "No visible engines or thrusters." The craft hovered about 20 feet above the landing pad, then gently touched down. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a soft hiss, a door slid open in the side of the ship. A ramp extended to the ground. The first alien appeared in the doorway. Samantha gasped quietly. The Zoraxian stood at least 7 feet tall, with a slender body and long, thin limbs. Its skin had a pale blue tint, and its large head housed enormous, black eyes. The alien wore what looked like a tight-fitting silver suit with glowing lines running through it. As the alien took its first step onto the ramp, something unexpected happened. It stumbled, nearly falling forward. A mechanical device quickly extended from its suit, stabilizing it. The alien paused, then continued down the ramp with careful, deliberate steps. "They're struggling with the gravity," Samantha whispered to her team. 11 more Zoraxians emerged from the craft, each moving with the same careful, awkward steps. All wore similar suits with mechanical supports that whirred and clicked as they walked. The lead alien, wearing a more elaborate suit than the others, approached the human delegation. Up close, Samantha could see the strain on its face, features that were humanoid but with higher cheekbones, no visible nose, and a small mouth that moved oddly when it spoke. "Greetings, Earth beings," it said through a translator device on its chest. "I am Ambassador Vexorn of the Zoraxian Alliance. We bring peace and knowledge to your heavy world." George stepped forward. "On behalf of the people of Earth, welcome to our planet. I am George Winters, diplomatic representative. We are honored by your visit." Vexorn made a gesture that might have been a bow, but the movement clearly required effort. "The honor is ours, to uplift such a determined species." Samantha noticed how the aliens' breathing seemed labored, their chests rising and falling rapidly. The mechanical supports on their suits were working constantly, adjusting to help them stand upright. The formal welcome ceremony began. Earth. Representatives from different nations made short speeches. The aliens stood in a line, their postures becoming visibly more strained as time passed. One Zoraxian in the back swayed slightly, and another quickly moved to support it. When it was Vexorn's turn to speak, the ambassador moved to the podium with slow, deliberate steps. "We have observed your world for many cycles," Vexorn said. "Your species has shown remarkable adaptation to this crushing gravity. We represent an alliance of 16 advanced civilizations who have mastered the stars. We offer friendship and advancement." The speech continued, filled with grand promises about sharing technology and knowledge. But Samantha was more interested in what wasn't being said. Why had such an advanced civilization decided to contact Earth now? And why send physical representatives when their bodies were clearly not adapted to Earth's conditions? After the ceremony, the aliens were escorted to their specially prepared quarters. Samantha and her team gathered in the command center to discuss their observations. "Did you see how they moved?" Alan asked. "Their suits have some kind of exoskeletal support system." Captain Johnson nodded. "They're physically vulnerable here. One good push and they'd probably break something. That doesn't mean we should let our guard down," George cautioned. "Their technology is far beyond ours." Samantha turned to the large screen showing camera feeds from around the facility. "Look at this," she said, pointing to footage from outside the alien quarters. On the screen, 2 Zoraxians had removed their external support suits in the privacy of their rooms. Without the mechanical assistance, they could barely stand. One alien nearly collapsed onto a specially designed reclining chair, while the other used the wall for support as it moved across the room. "Earth's gravity is about 3 times what they're used to," Samantha explained. "Imagine trying to walk around carrying 2 people on your back all day." "So their supposed superiority," Alan began, "might not apply here on Earth," Samantha finished. Later that evening, the first official meeting took place in the conference center. The aliens arrived late, moving even more slowly than before. Vexorn's face showed signs of strain despite obvious efforts to appear dignified. "We wish to discuss the terms of our cultural exchange," the ambassador said once everyone was seated. "We offer technological advancement beyond your current capabilities. In return, we ask for access to certain resources and permission to establish outposts in several locations around your planet." George leaned forward. "We're certainly interested in cultural and technological exchange, Ambassador. Could you be more specific about the resources you're interested in?" "Heavy elements that are rare in our systems. Your planet is rich with them." Captain Johnson's eyes narrowed. "And these outposts? What would be their purpose?" "Research, observation, the beginning of bringing your species into the galactic community," Vexorn replied. The alien's breathing was noticeably labored. "Now, perhaps we should continue this discussion tomorrow," Samantha suggested, noting the alien's fatigue. "You must be tired after your journey." Relief flashed across Vexorn's face before the ambassador could hide it. Yes, that would be acceptable. We find your world's conditions somewhat taxing. As the aliens struggled to their feet, one of them stumbled, knocking over a water glass. The liquid spilled across the table. The Zoraxian looked mortified. Don't worry, Samantha said kindly. It happens to all of us. After the aliens left, the human team remained behind. They want our medals, Captain Johnson said flatly, and those outposts sound like the beginning of a colonization effort to me. Let's not jump to conclusions, George cautioned, but yes, we need to be careful. Samantha was quiet, thinking. We need more information. Tomorrow, I want to test something. Let's invite them to tour the facility, all of it, including the upper floors. You want to wear them out, Alan realized. Samantha nodded. If they're already struggling after one day, imagine a week or a month. Whatever their intentions, Earth itself might be our greatest advantage. That night, in their quarters, the Zoraxians held their own meeting. Hidden cameras showed them slumped in their chairs, their translator devices removed. This gravity is worse than our calculations predicted, one alien said. We can barely function. Ambassador Vexorn's voice was tired, but firm. We must not show weakness. The humans cannot know how much we struggle. If they realize our disadvantage, they might resist our plans. And if we can't adapt? Vexorn looked at the others. Then we may need to accelerate our timeline. The orbital fleet should be prepared for all scenarios. As the aliens spoke, unaware they were being monitored, Samantha watched the feed from her private quarters. Her suspicions were growing. The Zoraxians had come with hidden intentions, but they had also underestimated one crucial factor: the very planet they hoped to claim. 2 weeks passed since the Zoraxians arrived on Earth. Each day, the aliens seemed to struggle more with Earth's gravity. Their movements became slower, their breathing more labored. Even with their mechanical support suits constantly whirring and adjusting, they could only manage a few hours of activity before needing to rest. Samantha sat in the monitoring room, studying the data they had collected on the aliens' physiology. Alan entered with 2 cups of coffee, handing one to her. Find anything interesting? He asked. Very, she replied. Their muscle density is about 1/3 of ours, and their bone structure is much lighter. On their home world, they would be graceful and agile. Here, they're like fish out of water. Alan sipped his coffee. Speaking of their gifts, I've been examining that communication device they gave us. And it's not just a communication device. It has sensors that map our facility and record our conversations. It's been transmitting data back to their ships. Samantha frowned. They're spying on us. While pretending to help us, Alan added. Later, that morning, the Earth Committee met before their scheduled session with the aliens. Captain Johnson paced the room, unable to hide her frustration. We need to confront them about the spying devices, she said. This proves they can't be trusted. George shook his head. Direct confrontation might escalate tensions. We need to be smart about this. I think I have an idea, Samantha said. She explained her plan, which they dubbed Operation Heavy Hand. When the Zoraxians arrived for the day's meeting, they found the humans waiting with friendly smiles. Ambassador Vexorn, George greeted. We've had a change of plans today. Instead of meeting in this room, we'd like to show you some of Earth's scientific achievements. Our lab is on the 5th floor. The aliens glanced at the elevator, then at each other. Vexorn's expression remained neutral, but Samantha caught the flash of concern in those large black eyes. Is the elevator not working? The ambassador asked. Oh, it works, Captain Johnson said. But we thought you might enjoy seeing our stairwell. It's a fine example of human architecture. The climb to the 5th floor was painful to watch. By the 3rd floor, the aliens were visibly struggling, their mechanical supports working overtime. One Zoraxian had to stop and rest, leaning heavily against the wall. Are you all right? Samantha asked with practiced innocence. We can take a break if needed. We are fine, Vexorn said stiffly. Our bodies are simply adjusting to your environment. The laboratory tour lasted 3 hours. The humans led the aliens around the large facility, showing them experiments and equipment that required them to stand for long periods. By the end, even Vexorn's pride couldn't hide their exhaustion. "Tomorrow," George announced as they finally returned to the ground floor. "We'd like to take you to see our manufacturing plant. It's about an hour's drive from here." The aliens couldn't hide their dismay. Back in their quarters, the Zoraxians collapsed in relief. The hidden cameras showed them removing their support suits, revealing bodies clearly suffering from the strain of high gravity. "This is intolerable," one alien complained. "They're deliberately testing our physical limits." "Have they discovered our monitoring devices?" another asked. Vexorn's voice was weary but determined. "Unknown, but they seem suspicious. We may need to revise our approach." The next day brought another challenge for the aliens. The Earth team insisted that for security reasons the Zoraxians couldn't bring their unknown technology into the manufacturing plant. This meant no gravity assistance devices beyond their basic suits. "This is a military facility, you understand?" Captain Johnson explained with a pleasant smile. "We have strict protocols about outside technology." The tour of the manufacturing plant was grueling for the visitors. The humans walked at a normal pace, which forced the aliens to keep up despite their struggles. They watched humans operating heavy machinery, lifting metal components and moving with ease in conditions that left the aliens breathless. That evening, Alan made an important discovery. He burst into Samantha's office, his face flushed with excitement. "I've decoded more of their transmissions," he said. "They're not just here for cultural exchange. They're planning a full resource extraction operation. They want our heavy metals, particularly gold, platinum, and uranium." "What about the outposts they mentioned?" Samantha asked. "Landing zones. For their mining ships. And there's more. They've been discussing the potential of taking human specimens back to their worlds. For study, they say. But some messages hint at using humans for labor because of our strength in high-gravity environments." Samantha's face hardened. "So they came here to steal our resources and potentially our people?" "They didn't expect us to be a threat," Alan said. "They thought their technology would give them all the advantage they needed, despite their physical weakness here." That night, Samantha called an emergency meeting with world leaders. After presenting what they had learned, she proposed extending Operation Heavy Hand. "They're physically at a disadvantage here," she explained. "Every day, and our gravity weakens them further. I believe we can force them to negotiate honestly without resorting to military action." The next morning, Vexorn requested a meeting with the Earth Committee. The ambassador looked tired, the blue skin around his eyes darker than before. "We wish to discuss the terms of our agreement," Vexorn said. "Perhaps we could focus on technological exchange rather than resource acquisition." "That's interesting," George replied calmly. "Just yesterday you seemed quite focused on those mining outposts." Vexorn froze. "I'm not sure what you mean." "Let's be honest with each other, Ambassador," Samantha said. "We know about the monitoring devices hidden in your gifts. We know about your plans for our resources. And we know you've been discussing taking humans back to your worlds." The other aliens shifted nervously. Vexorn's large eyes blinked rapidly. "There has been a misunderstanding," the ambassador began. "No misunderstanding," Captain Johnson cut in. "Your people called us primitive gravity-bound creatures. You thought your technology made you superior, even though you can barely stand in our gravity." George raised a hand to calm the tension. "We're not looking for conflict, Ambassador. We're simply suggesting a more equal partnership, one based on mutual respect rather than exploitation." Vexorn seemed to deflate slightly. "We may have misjudged certain aspects of your species and your world." "Then let's start over," Samantha suggested. "But first, I think we should address the 3 warships you have in orbit. As a show of good faith, perhaps 2 of them could return home. 1 ship seems sufficient for a peaceful cultural exchange." The ambassador's expression showed surprise and worry. Earth wasn't supposed to be able to detect the true nature of their vessels. "I will consult with my superiors," Vexorn said, carefully. As the aliens left the meeting room, moving slowly and painfully in Earth's relentless gravity, Samantha exchanged looks with her team. They weren't out of danger yet, but the balance was shifting. The very thing the Zoraxians had mocked about Earth, its heavy gravity, was becoming their greatest weakness and humanity's strongest defense. Do you think they'll back down? Alan asked quietly. They're running out of options, Samantha replied. But we need to be ready for anything. Tomorrow, I think it's time to show them what humans can really do in our crushing gravity. The morning dawned clear and bright. Samantha stood at the window of the command center, watching soldiers set up for the day's demonstration. This was the moment they had been building toward, a carefully planned display of human capabilities. Are we ready? She asked as Captain Johnson entered the room. Everything's set, Johnson replied. The obstacle course is complete, and the weightlifting station is good to go. I've selected our best people for the demonstrations. Alan looked up from his computer. The Zoraxians just sent a message. They've agreed to send one of their ships back as a gesture of goodwill, but they're insisting the other two need to stay for communication purposes. One step at a time, George said. At least they're making concessions now. The aliens arrived at the military training field looking more rested than previous days. They had clearly used their gravity assistance devices overnight to recover some strength. Even so, Samantha noticed how carefully they moved, how their bodies seemed to fight against Earth's pull with every step. Welcome to our basic training facility, Captain Johnson announced. Today we'll show you how our soldiers prepare for duty. Nothing special, just standard human exercises. The first demonstration began with a simple running course. 20 soldiers lined up at the starting line. At Johnson's signal, they took off, sprinting across the field, leaping over barriers, and climbing walls with ease. Their movements were quick and fluid, each soldier carrying a 40-pound pack as if it weighed nothing. Samantha watched the aliens closely. They stood in stunned silence, their large eyes following the soldiers' movements. One Zoraxian leaned toward another, whispering, something that made the other's eyes widen even further. Next came the obstacle course. Soldiers climbed ropes, swung across gaps, and crawled through tunnels, all while carrying their heavy packs. Every movement demonstrated the strength and agility that came naturally to bodies evolved in Earth's gravity. Is something wrong, Ambassador? Samantha asked innocently, noticing Vexorn's troubled expression. These soldiers, the ambassador said slowly. They are genetically enhanced? No, not at all, Johnson replied. This is normal human strength. In fact, these are just average soldiers, not our elite forces. The aliens exchanged worried glances. Would you like to try part of the course? Johnson offered. We can adjust it for your comfort. Vexorn quickly declined. We will observe only. The final demonstration was the most impressive. A young soldier named Kyle Bennett approached a weightlifting station. Kyle was not particularly tall or muscular by human standards, just an ordinary 22-year-old from Iowa who had joined the Army after high school. This is a standard strength test, Johnson explained. Nothing extraordinary. Kyle grabbed a barbell loaded with 300 pounds. With controlled movements, he lifted it from the ground to above his head, held it steady, then lowered it back down. He repeated the exercise 10 times, his breathing remaining even and controlled. A sound like a gasp came from the Zoraxian group. One of them stepped forward, studying Kyle with intense interest. This weight, the alien said. On our world, it would require mechanical assistance to move it even slightly. Kyle looked confused. It's not that heavy, sir. Most of us can lift this. To demonstrate, 5 more soldiers took turns lifting similar weights. Each performed the task with relative ease, some even adding more weight to show off. Vexorn turned to Samantha. Your species' muscle density must be extraordinary to function in this gravity. We're adapted to our environment, Samantha replied simply, just as you are to yours. The demonstration continued with soldiers performing tasks that would be impossible on the Zoraxians' homeworld, jumping several feet in the air, carrying heavy equipment while running, and quick, precise movements under load. After the final exercise, Samantha noticed Vexorn speaking urgently into a communication device. The ambassador's expression had changed from casual superiority to something that looked very much like worry. That evening, Alan detected a surge of transmissions between the alien delegation and their ships. "They're panicking," he reported as the Earth team gathered in the secure meeting room. "I've only translated portions, but they're discussing the physical threat potential of humans. They're calling us gravity-strengthened warriors now, not gravity-bound creatures. They're afraid of us," Captain Johnson said with satisfaction. "Not just afraid," Samantha added. "They're reconsidering their entire approach. They came here, thinking their technology made them superior, despite their physical limitations. Now they're realizing that humans living in high gravity might pose a threat they hadn't considered." George nodded thoughtfully. "This gives us leverage for negotiations. We should use it carefully." The next morning, Vexorn requested an urgent meeting. The ambassador arrived with only 2 other Zeraxians, not the usual delegation of 6 or more. Their mechanical support suits seemed to be working at maximum capacity, the glowing lines pulsing rapidly as they assisted the aliens' movements. "We wish to revisit the terms of our potential agreement," Vexorn announced, getting straight to the point. "Perhaps we were hasty in our initial proposals." George maintained a neutral expression. "We're always open to fair discussion, Ambassador. What did you have in mind?" "The resource extraction operations we proposed may be unnecessary," Vexorn said carefully. "Instead, we could focus on technological exchange. Your people have unique qualities that might benefit the Alliance." Samantha heard the shift in the ambassador's tone. The condescension was gone, replaced by something approaching respect. "We're interested in technological exchange," she said, "but as equals, not as a primitive species to be uplifted." "Of course," Vexorn said quickly. "Equals." The meeting continued for hours, with the Zeraxians making concession after concession. They agreed to share their faster-than-light travel, technology, medical advancements, and energy production methods. In return, they asked only for limited mining rights under strict environmental controls and the opportunity to study human physiology, with proper consent and compensation. When they finally reached a preliminary agreement, the relief on Vexorn's face was visible. The aliens were eager to return to their quarters, their bodies clearly strained by hours in Earth's gravity. As they left, Alan whispered to Samantha, "They still don't fully trust us. Their ships are maintaining battle readiness." "Then we need one more demonstration," she replied. "Something to show them that humans aren't just physically strong, but that we could potentially rival them technologically if pushed." Later that night, Samantha proposed her idea to the United Nations Committee overseeing the alien contact. After heated debate, they approved her plan. The next day, Earth revealed its secret weapon, not a military device, but a statement of potential. Using technology reverse-engineered from studying the alien vessels, Earth scientists had created a prototype gravity weapon that could increase or decrease gravity in a localized area. "We've been developing this since you arrived," Samantha explained as they demonstrated the device, temporarily increasing gravity in a small test chamber. "We thought you might appreciate seeing how quickly humans can adapt and learn." The message was clear. Humans were not only physically formidable in high gravity, but clever enough to turn the aliens' own advantages against them if necessary. Vexorn stared at the device, then at Samantha. For the first time since their arrival, the ambassador showed genuine respect. "Perhaps," Vexorn said slowly, "we have much to learn from each other." The balance had shifted completely. What began as a visit from supposedly superior beings had transformed into the beginning of a wary, but potentially equal relationship. And it had all turned on one simple fact. The very gravity that the Zeraxians had mocked had become humanity's greatest strength. 1 month after the Zeraxians first landed on Earth, Samantha found herself in an unexpected place, aboard the main alien ship in orbit. The artificial gravity had been set to match the Zeraxians' homeworld, making her feel strangely light and clumsy. "This is how we feel on your world," Ambassador Vexorn explained as Samantha stumbled slightly, unable to control her movements in the low gravity. "Every step requires calculation." Samantha nodded, understanding in a way she hadn't before. I'm bouncing when I try to walk. And I sink like a stone on Earth, Vexorn replied with what she now recognized as humor. The final negotiations were taking place in this neutral setting, half the meetings on Earth with Earth gravity, and half on the ship with Zeraxian gravity. It was a symbol of the new equality between their species. I must admit something, Vexorn said as they watched Earth through a large viewing window. When we first detected your civilization, we did not expect much from gravity-bound creatures. Our council believed your planet would make an easy addition to our resource worlds. And now? Samantha asked. Now we understand that different challenges create different strengths. Your people evolved lifting their own weight in heavy gravity. It made you strong in ways we never considered important. George floated over, still, getting used to moving in low gravity. The treaty is ready for final review. The document they had created together was revolutionary. Earth would join the galactic community as a full member, not as a subject world. Humans would have access to space travel technology and medical advancements. In return, Earth would trade fairly for resources and knowledge. There is one more thing, Vexorn said. Our council would like to invite a human delegation to visit our homeworld next year, with proper gravity accommodation, of course. We would be honored, Samantha replied. Later, as the human team prepared to return to Earth, Captain Johnson made an observation. You know, they're still physically weaker than us, even with all their technology. True, Samantha said, but we're weaker than them in low gravity. Different worlds, different strengths. Do you trust them now? Alan asked. Samantha considered the question. I trust that they've learned respect. That's a good beginning. When they returned to Earth, the change in gravity hit them hard. Samantha felt like her body was made of lead, every movement requiring effort. For the first time, she truly understood what the Zeraxians experienced every moment they spent on Earth. 3 days later, the alien ships prepared to depart. Only one small vessel would remain in orbit as an embassy. On the landing field, humans and aliens gathered to say goodbye. When we first arrived, we thought your gravity was your weakness, Vexorn said to Samantha. Now we understand it was your hidden strength all along. As the ships rose into the sky, Samantha looked at her team. Alan with his curiosity, Johnson with her protectiveness, and George with his diplomacy. Together they had turned a potential invasion into a partnership. What now? Alan asked as they watched the ships become tiny points of light in the sky. Samantha smiled. Now we prepare for the stars. Not as the gravity-bound creatures they thought we were, but as the gravity-strengthened people we've always been. She looked up at the night sky, seeing it with new eyes. The universe had just become much larger, and humanity's place in it much more significant. All because aliens had mocked Earth until our gravity hit them.